Hi, Dave Roscoe here. It is Thursday, July 31st, 2025. Today I want to talk about decentralization, where we're at and what it means. I also want to talk about an ambitious gaming project that a user on X recently made me aware of, and I want to tell you about it because it seems really cool. And I also want to give you some hard facts about compromised wallets. As you know, I have my anti-scammer bot, and people have reached out to me. And as expected, there are some interesting notions about compromised wallets and the disposition of the pie that's in it. So we'll talk about that as well. But first, the metrics. My anti-scammer bot stands at 3 wins, 2 losses. Last night, I put the finishing touches on yet another upgrade to my bot that makes it even faster. So each upgrade improves, in theory, my chances of winning. So if you have a compromised wallet or suspect you have a compromised wallet, then reach out to me in the comments and I'll give you a way to contact me and see if I can help you. If you know somebody else who has a compromised wallet or thinks they do, have them reach out to me as well. I prefer to work with people directly just because it's safer for everyone involved. The circulating supply is 7.7 billion pi, and there were 33,304 user accounts migrated yesterday, totaling 8.2 million pi. Again, a relatively high number of migrations, but a relatively low amount of pi, meaning that they are predominantly migrating accounts with low balances. And it makes sense considering the pressures that are on the Pi coin right now with respect to the number of unlocks. But I know that makes a lot of people unhappy because I had my migration 3 years ago, but there are other people who were in it just as long as me who've never had a migration. There are reasons for that, I'm sure. Maybe they didn't use the app for a while, came back late and missed their opportunity to get migrated in that first wave. I don't know. But the problem with that is that most of those people have relatively large balances. And now the Pi migration algorithm is intentionally skipping accounts that have large balances, at least for now. And that's making the wait even longer. So whatever the reason, it is what it is. If you disappeared from the app for a while and came back and missed your migration window, then that's on you. But just know that if you have, I would say 6,000 or 5,000 or more pi, and you have not been migrated, chances are you will not be migrated anytime soon. There is 46.6 million pi in the Pi migration wallet, and migrations are happening right now. Migrated unlocked rewards are at 2.57 billion pi, and there were 3.9 million pi unlocked in the last 24 hours and now free to be traded on the open markets. Looking at the price action, the Pi coin is currently trading at 41 cents, which is down 7.1% from this time yesterday. The market cap is $3.19 billion, which is down 0.5%. And the daily trading volume is at $74.55 million, which is down 6.5%. And looking at the 7-day chart, you can see that we have our downward dip here, and we appear to be entering this volatile period here where we're seeing some pressure down to the lowest low, which in this case was 40 cents, 0.5. We still have not broken that 40 cent mark, which has been the lowest that the Pi has been since it was released. But we've skirted it several times. And then we've pushed up here, as you can see. We pushed up to 43 cents, and then selling pressure kicked in to push us right back down. There's a lot of games being played right now because they're pushing up these prices in small bursts, only to immediately kick back in and introduce selling pressure. And this is how you weed out the people who don't know how the market works or how to trade, because you can weed out a lot of people with small moves. And I'm sure that's what's happening here. I think we're looking at a massive liquidation push to free up as much pie on the exchanges as possible for larger whales or institutions to gather cheap pie. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, if we get below 40 cents, the next target is going to be around 35 cents. But in reality, there's no limit to how low it can go. It could turn around and pump back up, but that seems unlikely at this point. We have to have something real happen to get that that buying pressure back in play here. So, and I don't see any news that would give me any indication that was about to happen. So be careful out there. This is a great time to buy pie. I bought 200 last week when it was a little bit higher than this, and I will buy more this week just because why not? I still think that this is probably the only time you're going to see pie this low, and might as well grab as much as you can. Not financial advice. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. So I wanted to show you this. A friend of mine on X told me about this new game that incorporates the Pi coin as part of its in-game economics. And I thought it was really cool. Now, this isn't going to appeal to everybody because of the way that it works, but I'll give you some idea. The name of the game is called TokenLordsRPG, and as the name implies, it's an RPG. But the way it works is very interesting, and I want to show you something. So right now, they've rolled out like an early access where you can join their Discord channel and earn their in-game currency, which is TLR. And you can purchase TLR by doing tasks and things like that. And there's also some like free giveaways that you can do just for joining the Discord early. And it gives you real in-game benefits. You'll also be able to use your Pi coin to operate within the ecosystem. Now, whether that's in the form of a swap between Pi and TLR, which would likely be the case, because their in-game currency is TLR, but this is specifically targeted to allow Pi. So this is literally a Pi ecosystem app, and this is pretty cool. Now, I know there was talk about Grand Theft Auto 6 using a real cryptocurrency for its in-game economy, and there is some speculation that that could be Pi. We'll have to see. It would make sense, right? Because Pi is very lightweight, very fast, and the fees are low. But who knows whether or not Pi is on Rockstar's radar? But I'm pumped to see it, and we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, you can join the early access on Discord if you use Discord and get some early adopter benefits. Here's the cool thing about it. If you're old like me, you remember a time when RPGs were not graphic based. They were text based, and they would give you descriptions of areas and what was around you and what was happening. And then you would enter commands in the command line parser to tell the game what you wanted to do. And it would either work or it didn't work. And some of the more sophisticated games had very complex parsers that could let you speak in regular English for the most part. It's nowhere near the level of sophistication that we have now with LLMs, and we can basically talk in regular English and have the computer respond just as coherently. The way it worked is that there was very little graphics. Sometimes there'd be little animations, maybe some static graphics, but for the most part, everything was done in your imagination via the descriptions given to you. Well, this is a new age, and they've taken this idea and they've used generative AI and linked it to the user interface that you type, just like the old school RPGs, and it will generate the scene for you. As you can see here, the user says, I attacked the dragon with a tree. And then the AI generates the scene with the tree and the dragon, and you can see it animating here. And as you can see here, apparently the game has a personality, because it says, imagine a world where attack the dragon with tree isn't a joke. It's a game mechanic. Here you throw trees, bend reality, and the game laughs maniacally. Hell yes, now set it on fire. So the in-game AI has a personality, and this was only available in recent times. So I'm kind of excited about this. Now, that's pretty cool. So, and these are some of the key features here. AI-powered gameplay, input any action. Our AI dynamically crafts immersive game events, and visuals based on your character's skills and a touch of luck. No pre-scripted paths. I like that. Infinite loot and grind. Slay monsters, complete quests, explore dungeons, earn XP, powerful gear, valuable tokens, and unique NFTs. The grind has never been this rewarding. Kingdom building. Carve out your own domain. Build structures, manage resources, and generate passive income in tokens. Your kingdom, your rules. Infinite choice. Not turn-based. Not limited options. Not static. You write the action. AI makes it happen. The only limit is your imagination. Blockchain integrated. True ownership of assets. Trade NFTs, earn tokens, participate in player-driven economy secured by the blockchain. Player-shaped world. Your actions have consequences. The world evolves based on collective player decisions and triumphs. Be a part of a living, breathing RPG. And this goes on to talk about the early access, which is now available on Discord. First, you join the Discord, and then you level up within the Discord by performing some tasks, and you start earning TLR. And then you can spend your TLR to purchase NFTs and other items like power-ups or whatever like that, and start building up your character and your world in advance of the release of the game. And then when the game is released, you can transfer all that to the game, and you're starting off ahead of everybody else. And this talks about how you can build businesses. Like the in-game economy allows you to do almost anything. Why just explore when you can own a piece of the world? In TokenLordsRPG, your entrepreneurial spirit pays off. Establish lucrative resource outposts, craft legendary items in your fully upgraded workshops, or run the most popular tavern in the kingdom. Every venture generates passive TLR income, fueling your adventures and your treasury. And then this talks about the in-game currency, which is TLR, which is a cryptocurrency. The TLR token is on the horizon. Get ready to power your adventure and shape the Token Lords economy. And then it talks about here, powering the fantasy world. Everything runs on the Token Lords token. It's not just a game currency. It fuels the entire player-driven economy. And this has some things that you can do here. Merge items, combine weapons, gear, and magic artifacts using tokens to create rarer, stronger versions. Build and upgrade kingdoms. Use tokens to construct castles, recruit NPCs, and generate passive rewards. Enter dungeons and events. High-tier challenges require token buy-ins, but drop rare NFTs, tokens, and glory. So it's kind of like has a lot of the features of your standard RPG and then your MMO RPG, and it's all powered by crypto. All trading, loot, NFTs, land happens through TLR, fully player-driven economy. Deflationary mechanics, merging, upgrading, and kingdom expansion burn tokens, reducing supply. Player growth equals demand growth. The more players, the more token usage across all systems. NFT integration, exclusive in-game assets and perks tied to token-based ownership. Token Lords isn't just a game, it's a living, player-fueled economy. Now, I really like the sound of that. And I don't really have the time to get involved right now in the early access, and I was invited. And I told the person who the group that makes the game that I would talk about this on my channel, and now I have, and I just want to show you a little bit here on the how to get started page. This gives you a lot more information on how everything works. So I definitely think you should check this out. And I'm going to put a link to this in the description. So I'm really excited about this. This is a huge step up from the types of crypto enabled apps that we're seeing on the Pi ecosystem right now. Now, it's not intrinsically tied to the Pi ecosystem, but it could be. But it uses Pi as part of its economy, which creates utility for Pi. And that is nothing but a good thing. And if it's a quality product, like this sounds like it could be. Now, mind you, this could just turn out to be vaporware. We don't know. But I like the sound of it. Now we'll just have to see what the delivery looks like. Check it out. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited to see how that plays out. Now let's talk a little bit about decentralization. There's been quite a few things happening lately where new offerings are showing up within the Pi app, mostly in the Pi wallet. And I see quite a few comments of people complaining that the Pi core team isn't talking about them or explaining that they're not quite ready to go yet, they don't work, or things like that. Yesterday, I had several people complaining about the on-ramper, how they tried to make purchases, it went through, but then wasn't showing up in their wallet. Then on-ramper puts out a post on X explaining that they're not really ready to go yet. They weren't planning on taking real orders until the first week in August. But yet here it is in the Pi wallet. Now, I don't know why the Pi core team does this, but maybe they just don't have any way of just flipping a switch and making things appear. But I don't believe that, because the buy option didn't show up for everybody and then showed up in stages. So it seems to me that they do have the opportunity to flip a switch and have these things just show up. So why do they put things out that aren't ready? That is a problem that rests squarely on the Pi core team, but their responsibility ends there. All of these things that are happening right now and being integrated are third party, and that is the definition of decentralization. In the future, when the Pi network is fully decentralized, the Pi core team won't have anything to do with what shows up in their ecosystem. It'll all be automatic. And as long as you go through the process, anybody can add things and users can get access to it. So right now, the Pi core team controls what shows up and when, but that won't always be the case. The fact that like OnRamper or even Banksa, where it was having issues, people were looking at the Pi core team to explain what was going on, or just as a sink for their anger because things weren't working. And you have to keep in mind that it's not their responsibility. They can't be held accountable for everything that third parties do because it's not theirs. They don't own it. They have nothing to do with it other than providing the platform upon which these offerings are integrated. But the Pi core team gets in a situation where they're guilty by association just because it's in their app. It's a Pi core team problem, and that's not the case. Now, don't get me wrong. The Pi core team is far from innocent here. They've done many things on their own and left us all guessing and scratching our heads as to what was going on. But with respect to the more recent activities with these integrations, it's not all them. So just keep that in mind. The Pi network is far from decentralized. They still say that's their goal. And I have some concerns For example, the nodes will eventually be moved to user nodes, and the user nodes will run the blockchain. That's great. That's a big step towards decentralization. The Pi network wallets are non-custodial, which means that once they're created and the migration happens and the Pi is unlocked and it's in your wallet, Pi network has no control over it whatsoever. The problem for me is, how are they going to decentralize the KYC requirement? Right now, they control it. How do they not control it? How does that get decentralized? Even if they move it to a third party, you're still now just moving the control to a third party. So it's still centralized. It's just not centralized around the Pi core team. So that is going to be an interesting one. And that's why, a lot of cryptos don't have KYC, but they're going to need it. So we're moving into this period where decentralization is more of a hybrid model, where you have an on-ramp period that is centralized. So your account creation, your KYC, and then your migration if you're in the app. Now, mind you, migration isn't always going to be a thing. At some point, mining will stop, and the whole thing about migrations is going to be history. So, but it is a reality right now. So KYC and migrations have to remain centralized. I don't see any other way to do it. So that's more of a hybrid decentralized approach. Now, if that's the only touch point and it's operating smoothly, maybe people won't complain. But obviously right now, it's not running smoothly, and there's a lot of unhappy people. Another thing I want to talk about, as you know, I have my anti-scammer bot, and there are people who are reaching out to me. I do charge a fee. I'm a software engineer with 30 years of experience. I've developed a highly sophisticated tool that took me several months to develop and perfect, and I still continuously improve it. And my time has value. What I offer has value. And then I have people asking me why I'm charging for it. So, well, let me level set you for just a second. Let's say your Pi wallet is compromised. What you need to understand is that you no longer have that Pi. It's already gone. Just because it's in your wallet means nothing. There's nothing you can do to stop the theft. You're just keeping it warm for whoever is going to steal it from you. It's already gone. If your wallet is compromised, you have 0% of that locked up balance. What I'm offering you is the chance to save most of it. And in exchange for my time and effort, I'm going to turn your nothing into something, and I'm going to keep a little bit for myself. And I've updated the FAQ to explain exactly how this works. I offer a just-in-case option, and that's where you're not sure, because there's a lot of people who swear up and down that they never shared their passphrase. Yet when their Pi unlocks, they lose it. Obviously, there's something wrong there. Either a disconnect in perception about what it means to protect your passphrase, or there are other mechanisms by which scammers can get your passphrase. And I know of at least one. I know for a fact there is malware out there that targets Android phones. iOS phones are a bit more protected just because of the way they're architected. But under the right circumstances, iPhones can be compromised as well. But this is far more prevalent on Android. There is malware out there that installs itself through a web browser, and it will specifically wait for you to enter your passphrase in your Pi wallet. And then it will grab it, and it will set up your wallet to be wiped clean when any of the unlocks happen. So you have no idea this happened, yet your Pi gets stolen. So for that, I have the just in case. And people just want to have a little extra security. And where I say, okay, I'll set you up on my bot. I will try to rescue your Pi. If it's uncontested it'll work and everything's great. And we can return your Pi right back to your wallet. I charge 10% of the recovered Pi for that. Why? Because I still spent all of this time and effort. I can't tell you how many sleepless nights I've had working on this thing. But I've still spent the time and effort. And if I didn't charge, I would be flooded with people who wanted me to grab their Pi just in case. And that would tie up my bot for people who really need it. So I offer it, but it's going to cost you a little. And of course, if you want me to recover a compromised wallet, if I'm successful, I'm going to take 25%. And people seem to have a problem with that. And I don't understand, because you went from 0% of your Pi to getting 75% back. That's a win. And I know for a fact there are other services out there that do this that will take a lot more. So anyway, all of the details are in the FAQ. You know, I'm not here to gouge people, but you need to understand that if your wallet is compromised, you no longer have any Pi. It's already gone. It's just sitting in your wallet waiting for the new owner to claim it. And it isn't you. Well, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the introduction to TokenLordsRPG. And like I said, I will put a link in the description, so please check it out. And join their Discord if you want to take advantage of their early access and get a leg up on other players when it goes live. But until then, don't panic. Stay the course. And remember, the success of the Pi Network begins with you. Pi to the moon. Peace.